This is the Magimix Mini Plus food processor. I've owned it for 12 years and in the last 5 years I've purchased replacement parts. Today I'm going to review it. I'll cover the pros and cons, then I'll show you what it can do. Let's get straight into it. Are you here because you're considering a food processor, but you don't know if you need a full-sized one? Most food processors are pretty big, and that's where I'm going to start: size. I'm listing size as a pro because the form factor of the Mini Plus is great. When I was thinking about who this food processor would be useful for, I wanted to say smaller households like this one, and Magimix says it's for 1 to 2 people. But then I realised that I cook in fairly big quantities, so I'm not entirely sure that's right. A better answer might be anyone who's got limited countertop or cupboard space. This Mini Plus lives permanently on my countertop because I wouldn't use it if I had to take it in and out of a cupboard. The footprint is really small and it's not super tall, so it would fit under most kitchen cabinets. If you're not going to keep it on a countertop, it wouldn't take up huge amounts of room in a cupboard, but bear in mind that it comes with a box of accessories, so you'll need to find a home for them too. The bowl has a 1.7 litre capacity. For reference, the next size up is 2.6 litres, then 3, then finally 3.6. Quick hat tip to the La Micro, which is a really cute mini chopper, but it has a 0.8 litre capacity, so it's too small for me, plus it can't grate things. Anyway, I'll show you lots of ways that I use the Mini Plus later, but as a rough guide, Magimix says that it will process the dough for a small 400-gram loaf of bread, or up to 600 grams of vegetables, which is this many carrots. But as a heads up, when I process a cauliflower, big or small, I have to do it in batches. Cauliflower becomes almost breadcrumb-like, and if you put the florets from a whole cauliflower in at once, half of it settles at the bottom and the bigger florets just sort of spin around on top. This probably wouldn't happen in a bigger food processor. I really do love the size of this machine though. Whenever I bake and I use my big mixing bowls, they take up loads of room in the dishwasher. Then we end up having to hand wash dishes, which sort of defeats the point of having a dishwasher. I feel like it would be similar if I had a full-size food processor. The lid and the bowl would take up a fair bit of dishwasher space. But this bowl is pretty small. For me, that's a huge plus. And that leads me on to my next point. It's easy to clean. I'm sure when I first bought the Mini Plus, I hand washed it, even though all of the parts are dishwasher safe. But as with my Vitamix, no matter how careful I was, the bowl was always going to pick up scratches. Sometimes I process nuts in it and they can be quite sharp. So it goes into the dishwasher, and it has for years. That is the bowl, the lid, the blade and the plunger, and they're all fine. But say you don't have a dishwasher. Hand washing isn't a big deal because once you take the blade out, there's plenty of room to get in there to clean, unlike with my Vitamix where the blade is attached to the container and the container is quite narrow at the bottom. I do sometimes choose the Mini Plus over my Vitamix because it's easier to get thicker foods out of it. Take hummus for example. If I make it in my Vitamix, I get a smoother result, but it's a lot harder to get all of the hummus out. The Vitamix has these ridges to reinforce the container, so a silicone spatula can only do so much. With the Mini Plus, I can remove the blade, run a spatula around the bowl and get pretty much all of the food out. And when I say that hummus will be chunkier in the Mini Plus, it's not a problem. It's just that the Vitamix has an incredibly powerful 2 horsepower motor, whereas the Mini Plus has a 400 watt motor. It can't really compete, but they're different machines, so it's like comparing apples and oranges. It depends on how much you value convenience over texture. The Mini Plus makes really good hummus and dips, so I have no complaints. This is a machine that should be with you for quite some time. It ran for 7 years before I had to replace parts, and when the parts failed, they failed slowly over a period of a year or so. The notches on the main bowl broke off, so I had to hold the bowl in place while it processed, which I didn't mind. Then the lid started to crack, but again, I could still use it and it wasn't breaking off into my food. Eventually, the bit of the lid that engages with the bowl snapped, and that was when I had to order replacement parts. I ordered a new blade at the same time, and when the parts arrived, I was so pleased. The bit of the lid that had failed had been lengthened, so it felt a lot stronger. I should probably say that I had used the Mini Plus heavily before I bought new parts, The thing that tipped it over the edge was Anna Jones's raw brownies, a brilliant recipe. I'll link to it in the description. But it's debatable as to whether that recipe is suitable for this food processor. I made a lot of raw brownies in the Mini Plus, but I always felt like I was pushing it. The recipe starts with skin on almonds, then dates, cocoa powder, and honey. You're making a really thick, sticky sort of dough. It's a lot to ask, and actually dough probably isn't the right word, it's tougher than dough, so it's no wonder the Mini Plus struggled. The replacement parts were bought in 2020, about 5 years ago, and they're holding up well. Something that used to be a con was that the plastic on the blade was white, which discoloured almost immediately. The plastic is now black, which is definitely a better design choice. I paid £73 for a new blade, lid and bowl, and that included delivery. It's not a small amount of money, and I know that you could probably buy a new food processor for less money, but I can't begrudge it. I just can't, because I think I should get as much, if not more, life out of these parts. The guarantee on my motor is 10 years because I bought it 12 years ago. If you buy the Mini Plus today, you'll get a 3-year guarantee on the parts and 30 years on the motor. Plus, Magimix says that parts will be available for 30 years, which is reassuring. The blade is really sharp. I talked in my blog review about how it cut coal through a tea towel when it was brand new, so be careful. The blade won't operate unless the lid is fully locked on, so that's good, unlike a blender, which is probably why blenders turn up in horror films more than food processors. The Mini Plus is pretty quiet. I mean, it depends on what you're processing, but I've never had to get my ear defenders out. It's got the Quiet Mark certification, my kettle does too, and it's a nice thing if you're sensitive to noise like I am. The current Mini Plus comes with a whole bunch of accessories, some of which I didn't get. I bought my own 4mm grating disc because I only got the 2mm one with it, so it's nice that they provide both now. You won't have to buy it separately. You'll also get 2 slicing discs. I can't really talk about the citrus press, egg whisk or blending ring because I either didn't get them or I haven't used them. I will link to a video that demos how they're used. The citrus press looks good, like it gets every last drop of juice out. The blending ring is for smoother blends, and the demo shows it being used to make a banana smoothie and a strawberry juice. The egg whisk turns egg whites into meringue. So if you don't have a blender, a hand mixer or a stand mixer, those accessories might be useful for you. On to cons, the mini bowl. I bought an extra one because I thought I'd use it all the time, but I hardly ever do. It's good if you want to process ingredients separately. I mostly use it to make Dishoom's garlic and ginger pastes, because if I were to put an entire bulb of garlic into the main bowl, there just wouldn't be enough of it to get processed properly. The mini bowl is good for when you have smaller quantities. The capacity is ½ litre compared to 1.7 litres in the main bowl. If you've got a really small amount of food though, it can stick to the sides and not really get processed. With garlic and ginger, I sometimes add a bit of water which helps the food slide back down to get processed. Or say I'm making an olive tapenade, then I might add some olive oil. Just a warning, the ingredients will often fly out into the main bowl, both liquid and solid. Not necessarily a lot, but enough so that you'll have to clean it afterwards, especially with something like garlic or ginger. That probably sounds obvious, but I thought I could just pop out the mini bowl and blade, and that was all I'd have to wash up, and the lid. Nope, the main bowl needs to be washed too. Not a big deal, but just something to be aware of. I know I listed size as a pro, and it absolutely is for me, but size could be a pro or con depending on what you intend to use the Mini Plus for. I mentioned the raw brownie recipe earlier, which really tests the motor, and cauliflower, which doesn't fit in one go. One reviewer mentioned that you can't fit a cucumber down the feed tube. That's the price you pay for a compact size. For me, it's not a big price. In the 12 years I've owned it, I've only wished for a bigger machine a handful of times. I would take this size every time over a bigger machine. You may feel differently. If you're going to need a lot of power to process really hardy ingredients, or you'll be processing large quantities, go for a bigger machine. Some reviewers have mentioned that they don't think the Mini Plus is powerful enough, and one person said that it doesn't make good pesto, which just hasn't been my experience at all. But I think it depends on where you're coming from. For me, The Mini Plus was a replacement for a really puny food processor attachment that came with my stick blender, so it was a huge upgrade. If you've previously owned a full-size machine that has a powerful motor, you may find that the Mini Plus won't quite cut it for you. It does have a tendency to walk a bit depending on what it's processing, which you'll see in a minute. The base is sturdy and heavy, but sometimes I do feel the need to hold it while it's on. But in general, for the types of food I put into it, the size is great. I'll show you what I use it for now because I'm actually done with the cons. That is it. I don't use the mini bowl much, and I can't fit a whole cauliflower into the main bowl. First up, breadcrumbs. If you've got leftover bread or some crusts, just tear them up and chuck them in there. If you've got sourdough, where the crust can sometimes be like leather, cut them up a bit smaller. The breadcrumbs go straight into the freezer, which is super convenient. Making your own is nice because you can use whatever bread you like, so for me, it's wholemeal sourdough. Then, if you want to really elevate the breadcrumbs, I can't recommend this enough, chuck some pesto in there. I put a whole tub of the fresh stuff in, but jarred is fine too. Then I divide the breadcrumbs into two, and again, they freeze well. I use pesto breadcrumbs on a salmon, tomato and broccoli dish that I'll link to in the description. I know it doesn't sound exciting, broccoli, cannellini beans, tinned tomatoes and salmon. But add a generous topping of pesto breadcrumbs, bake in the oven until crispy, and it is just wonderful. Next up, pesto, but one made from scratch using black kale, aka dinosaur kale. Start by processing cashews, then add garlic, lemon juice, olive oil and blanched kale. It's pesto, but way less oily and just beautiful stirred into pasta with some roasted tomatoes. Again, recipe in the description. I made a short video about frozen banana chocolate pudding. The Mini Plus deals brilliantly with frozen bananas. I do try to let them defrost for a little while, say 10 minutes or so, but if you don't have the time, it's still fine as long as your frozen banana coins haven't clumped together too much. This is a beautiful, rich, super sweet 3-ingredient chocolate pudding that's also vegan. I mentioned garlic and ginger paste earlier. If you're planning on doing a lot of Indian cooking, garlic and ginger paste are such a time saver. I've got the Dishoom cookbook and the recipes are phenomenal, but they are lengthy. Being able to spoon out ginger and garlic instead of peeling and chopping makes the recipe so much more accessible. Veg mash is brilliant if you're looking for a lower carb alternative to potato mash. I've turned boiled or steamed broad beans, soya beans and even peas into mash. Add some lemon juice and olive oil or butter and they're all really lovely to have with fish. Bryan Johnson's Nutty pudding is another one that I prefer to make in the Mini Plus rather than my Vitamix. It can be quite thick, so like I said earlier, it's just easier to get every last bit out of the Mini Plus. I may have saved the best till last, but that's only because I don't like grating. The grating disc is a lifesaver if you've got a recipe like Nigella's Mexican lasagna, which uses a whole block of cheddar. Or these carrot, orange and sultana muffins. Being able to grate 2 or 3 large carrots in less than 30 seconds never gets old to me. I mentioned in my blog review that the Mini Plus is one of my most loved kitchen gadgets. The last thing I want to reiterate is just how well built it is, and how much of a rarity that can be nowadays. I don't think it's particularly cynical to say that a lot of things aren't built to last anymore. You could absolutely buy a cheaper food processor, and you might get years out of it. But I always have buy cheap, buy twice rattling around my head. At the moment, the Mini Plus costs anywhere between 140 to 200 quid. 200 is for the Silver Satin edition. It's really stood the test of time for me, and that's saying something because I have the older model. The newer one has a longer guarantee and stronger, better design parts. Okay, all done. If you've got any questions or if I missed anything, let me know in the comments. More product reviews are coming soon. I do love a kitchen gadget. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.